Hi! Today I'm going to walk you through one of the project guides from Bullseye Glass. The project is called Circles from Squares. Because of surface tension, when glass is fired, it wants to flow out to a thickness of 6 millimeters. So if you use one layer of glass, the glass will ball up until it reaches that 6 millimeters. And if you have it thicker than that, it'll flow out until it reaches that 6 millimeter thickness. For our project today, we're going to use that to our advantage. We'll stack the glass in 3 layers, and then as it heats up and melts together, it's going to flow out into a nice rounded circle that ends up at the 6 millimeter thickness. So our stack is going to consist of the 3 different pieces. Our first layer on the bottom is going to be a thick layer of glass. It's a double thickness compared to the regular kind of glass. So it's equal to 2 layers of the colored glass. So our bottom layer is going to move the least. It's going to be our footprint on the kiln shelf. The middle layer is going to be our colored layer, and it's the regular thickness of glass. That one's going to stretch a little bit over top of the bottom one. The top layer, we're going to use that thick glass again, and it's going to stretch the most over all of the layers. Because this layer stretches the most, it's going to create kind of a lensing effect. If you don't have 6 millimeter clear glass, you can use 2 layers of the 3 millimeter clear glass as well. You'll just have to make sure that your stack stays nice and straight. You can use GlassTutorial gel to make sure that the stack stays together before firing. I like to cut over top of a piece of grid paper. That saves time on measuring out the size that I'm making. So let's get started. I'm going to cut a couple of pieces of my 6 millimeter. The size that we're going to be using today is 3/4 inch squares, and when they heat up, they're going to flow out to about 1 1/4 inches. Another tip that I like to do when I'm cutting a lot of squares out of a sheet, you don't want to run your cutter over top of score lines that you've already done, because that can damage your cutter wheel and really shorten the life of it. So sometimes what I'll do if I have a nice smooth piece of glass on both sides, no texture, is I'll actually score it on the back side as well. And then I have all of my grid, and I'm saving my cutter. Okay, now that we have our base and our top layers cut, we're going to start working on our colored layers for the design of the pendants. So I have a couple of colors already prepped. Some of them are just solid colors of glass, and some of them have a little bit of texture, a little bit of design to them. So let's cut some more. Okay, now I have a few pieces cut, a couple with little designs on them, some that are just solid colors. Something else that we could do is we could mix 2 colors together on one piece. So one that's going to be a really fun contrast is going to be these 2 bright colors. So we'll have to cut our square and then cut it in half so that we have 2 pieces that make up the size that we need. So now our 2 halves make up a square. Okay, I'm going to give the colored pieces a quick polish, and then we're going to arrange them on the kiln shelf. This last one is a piece of dichroic glass that I had pre-cut for another project, but I wanted to see how it would react in the kiln, spreading out and flowing, whether the dichroic coating would crackle and spread out so that you could see bigger cracks in between. Okay, now that everything's cleaned, I'm going to arrange everything on the kiln shelf, and I have to keep in mind that they're going to flow out, so we can't put them too close together, because when they start to flow, they'll run into each other and then they'll stick together. Okay, let's put them in the kiln and make sure that everything is lined up square, and then we'll fire them. Now that our shelf is in the kiln, I'm just going to touch everything up. I have this little screwdriver that I like to use to make my touch-ups, just to tap the pieces to make sure that they're lined up. Let's measure them before they fire so that we can see how much they change in size. So let's close it up, fire them, and see how they look once they've cooled. Here's Bullseye's schedule for firing this project. Alright, these have cooled to room temperature, so let's see how much they spread out. Before we fired them, these were 3/4 of an inch in size. Now they are 1 1/4 inches. You can really see how much the color is diluted when the clear glass spreads out the thin layer of color in between the two layers of clear. So let's take a look at some of these. I like to clean the fiber paper off of them just with a damp cloth. These two are great examples of the color dilution. You can really see how much change there is from the original sheet of glass that we used for the color compared to what we ended up with for our final piece. This one, where we had the blue and the yellow, actually had a fun reaction between the two colors. In another video, we'll talk more about the different reactions that can happen with glass. Here's that dichroic one that I was hoping it might have crackled a little bit, but it just ended up with a nice even dichroic coating through the whole piece. There's a few ways that we could finish these off. If we wanted them as pendants, we could either drill them or we could use a commercially manufactured bail. So if we were using this one, I would use them on the ones that are more opaque so that you can't see the bail through. The ones that are clear, some people like that design effect with the leaf shape showing through, but I prefer to have them drilled so that you can just see the design. I hope you enjoyed walking through this project guide from Bullseye Glass. If you're a glass artist and you're going to try this project, which color are you going to try first? If you like this video and you want to see more like it, let me know in the comments below. Like this video and hit subscribe to see more tips, tricks, tutorials, as well as new collection releases and the occasional giveaway. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.